Are the parachute teams finally getting moving now? It does feel like, having said last week, oh, what are they doing? What are they waiting for? When are they going to spend any money? That we are now moving into what we always describe as this horrible, churny window where we expect a few players to go out for big, big money. They've got to spend very, very wisely with that parachute money coming in, with the idea that, well, you might not get promoted so you can't completely gamble the farm. It's a tricky one, I know. First world problems, I guess, compared to most of the other squads. Would love that to be the case with massive saleable assets from Premier League squads and a vast amount of TV money coming in as opposed to all the other teams. But it can be a tricky one. Where shall we go first? Let's go into Southampton because we've actually got names announced there, whereas Ipswich, we think they're about to be announced. Maybe they'll be announced on stage with Ed Sheeran, who's playing 3 times over the weekend at Portman Road. But we've had one definitely announced at Southampton. Damien Downs in. Not Flynn Downs, Damien Downs. He is a 21-year-old centre-forward, US international indeed. Double figures with FC Köln in Bundesliga 2 as they were promoted last year. Southampton will hope that he is their top scorer and he will be playing once again for a team promoted from the second tier of a country's system up into the top tier. Look, he's young. I know there are other players at Southampton. I'd forgotten all about Ross Stewart, who is still there, isn't he? Who's a championship bagsman. So is Adam Armstrong. I know he was surplus to requirements last season in the Premier League and loaned out to West Brom. So plenty of names, faces that are ready to go. But this guy is obviously a Will Still guy, and whether that puts him ahead in the pecking order, Transfermarkt are reporting a fee of €8 million. So interested to see how that one goes. Very interested in all the United States signings, particularly with the amount of US money coming into English football, US ownership, and a World Cup happening over there. It's going to be a big boom in terms of US football all around the world. Tyler Dibbling is still at Southampton. We're imagining, and we'll talk about how Norwich are doing this very well later in the video. We're imagining he's going to go out at some point during the window, and Southampton are going to get a huge chunk of money coming in. So that's another thing that clubs with saleable assets do have to manage. You've got to time the sale and know what's coming in and kind of invest accordingly. And the best clubs will do it in such a way where when player A leaves, well, players B, C and D have already arrived and, barely anything is noticed. Ipswich Town will soon, we think, be announcing the signings of Cedric Kipre, who we think is just going to be depth at centre-half, but he's very well known in the Championship. He was a Corberon defender at West Brom, wasn't he? And he went on loan to Cardiff under Errol Ballou. He's been out in France since then. He looks like he's going to be coming back. That seems a very sensible signing in terms of depth, maybe behind Dara O'Shea and Jacob Greaves. But he knows the deal. Whenever we see a player come in from a foreign league, we say, oh, well, they're going to have to get used to maybe going to Preston on a Tuesday and then down to Swansea or whatever on the Saturday. Well, he will know all about that and be ready to go. Maybe an exciting one is Azor Matusiwa, who we know Ipswich basically need a new central midfield, and Sam Morsey will be involved next season, but he's not likely to be expected to lead a promotion charge as he did 2 years ago. Now, getting on a bit in years, he's been a brilliant captain. Obviously, Massimo Luongo has gone. That was the central midfield that got Ipswich promoted, and things not working in the Premier League with Calvin Phillips and Jens Kajust, both on loan and both neither at the club anymore. Matusiwa, we think, is going to come in for 10 million euros. Feels amazing being an Ipswich fan, being blasé about that type of number, but hey, you get a promotion to the Premier League and all of a sudden you break your transfer record 5 times and, I don't know, 3 times or whatever it was last summer. And all of a sudden, yeah, that's the money that you spend on a player if you've got Premier League TV money or indeed a year one parachute payment. So that could be an interesting one. We think that's kind of done, but just waiting to be announced. And again, like Tyler Dibbling, we're expecting probably, optimistic as I am, it would be lovely if he stayed, but you would expect Amari Hutchinson, being Dara O'Shea has signed a new deal, will be the other big ticket asset to leave Ipswich Town along with Liam Delap. And I hope that Ipswich are doing a good job of replacing him before he is sold and working on that. I think you've got some leverage, haven't you, to say to other clubs like Diblin as well at Saints to say, look, we'll sell you or we'll do this deal, but we've got to get our work done first. And you can wait, Mr. Premier League club, who's probably going to drop, you know, what on those two players, I don't know, 35, 40 million each for them. So the thick end of 75, 80 million on those two, you would imagine, will be being spent this summer. Nothing is being spent at Leicester City at the moment. It's very, very much an all quiet there, but at least we have some news on a manager. We think Martin Cifuentes is going to be announced pretty soon. But again, in terms of transfers, we don't know what in the heck is going to be coming down from the EFL in terms of, we've seen fee restrictions going at Hull and Sheffield Wednesday. We've seen points deductions spoken about. We think something might be coming. Can they get ahead of it, or have they already had to send benchmarking figures and whatnot across to the EFL that kind of not going to allow Leicester to do what they did last year and get in front of, or last year, 2 years ago, get in front of sanctions, or indeed not even submit the figures in the end? I mean, it worked out all right, didn't it, with 97 points in the promotion and no sanctions incoming, but we think it might be a little bit different at the King Power this season. And also lots of talk about the owners there not necessarily being in the best financial state. I'm not an expert on, what are they, Thai business, but I think some issues there with the, I won't say the family's name because it's got about 50 syllables there. So yeah, all quiet at Leicester, but it feels like we're getting moving at Ipswich and Southampton. I do still think, let me know in the comments if you agree with me, that Diblin and Hutchinson might be the big names going out. But I think PSR-wise, both Ipswich and Southampton, from what I understand in my layman's knowledge of this, are going to be pretty all right and should have some spend as well on top of that. Leicester is a bit of a different matter, and we'll see what comes out in the wash there. And we'll no doubt speak more when Marti Cifuentes is properly signed up. We have already done a video on Cifuentes elsewhere on the channel if you want to check out my thoughts on that. And that is about that for our year one parachute teams.